30 to 40 appointments a week. You know,
30, 40 appointments, half of them show.
yeah,
So
half of them show.
it's 20
So that's 20
at
sales
bats.
involved. Yeah, and you're closing, let's say, at 33%, or just 25% out
That's
of the
great.
show.
That's great. That's
So
great closing ratio.
yeah, closing ratio is for insurance. It's a product that sells itself, so it's expected to be a little bit higher if you're great. I mean, you could be trash and still close that. I've seen people close that guy was like, my close rate is like 5-10% at good times, and he's like, but he was the top sales in the industry because in the company I was working with, because he had a higher volume, he had multiple dials, he had everything, and he had
That's great.
he was doubling everybody else's sales calls versus so if everybody was booking 30, he was booking 60 a week.
There's a lesson
Right?
in that.
Actually, he said he was booking every 15 minutes. Right now, I book every 30. He was booking every 15 minutes. Do you find yourself chasing down prospects, chasing lead after leads, trying to book sales calls, knocking on your neighbor's door, looking through your phone, searching for your friends to call just to find qualified leads? Well, in this video, I sit down with my good friend Jerry Luna here, that's marketing expert, that has joined me to show you how you can have your prospects chasing you by just implement some few marketing tricks and tips and better to improve and better your lead generation process. Without further ado, Jerry, thank you again so much for being on the podcast with us.
Thank you so much, Richard. Always an honor to be here. There's so much that I can learn from you still. I know you said I'm the marketing expert, but there's always something new to learn, especially in another exciting industry like yours, which is life insurance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's always, improvement. That's the name of the game, right? And every time I talk to you about marketing, Jerry, I get so excited. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna do that. It's always insightful, some of the things that you bring on the show, and when we're outside of the show, I could talk to you for hours. Speaking of which,
and we have
right, and we have.
Hey, how you doing? Oh man,
Yes, absolutely. So today I'm excited to have our viewers, and myself sit down in the passenger seat while you drive this bus, and we get to pick your brain on some of the things that you're implementing in your lead generation process. The first question, of course, we prepared a few questions I wanted to go over with you. Now, what does lead generation really mean to you, and why is it an important part of the process of sales process?
Sure. Well, I'm happy to get into that. Lead generation, it's not really about just getting names or name, phone, emails. It's not about filling your CRM. It's really about having the right conversations with the right people in the right time. So there's something called the awareness journey. So, some prospects are in the unaware stage where they don't know you, they don't know your product exists, they don't know there's a solution. So those are the most unaware segment of the market, is typically the ones you have a hardest time converting. But if you go up in awareness stages, there's problem aware and solution aware people. These people know they have a problem, such as, I need insurance. They're already product aware. They already know of Dingle agency. They know of other XYZ agency, and there's other in the solution aware, in the product aware stage, where they already know what they need. They just need the right push, right? So, it's essential because sales should never feel like you're convincing. Lead generation, sales process really becomes more about guiding the right people at the right stage and asking the right questions and moving them down the pipeline. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. I mean, for the insurance industry, or at least for our agency, lead generation to us, I mean, whether it be running ads or anything like that, of course, it is important to have a constant source of folks that's coming in, qualified leads.
Mm-hmm. How are you currently generating those kinds of leads in your agency?
So multiple ways for us. We are doing some cold market outreach. when it comes to generating leads, door to door, of course. That's
Door to
you know,
door.
door to
Those are
door.
the heroes.
Hitting the
Those lead
streets.
generators going
Right.
door to door.
Yeah, that really builds a salesman right there. Right.
Yes, it
So,
builds character.
yes, yeah, we believe so. And we actually have a lot of agents that really love that door to door knock-in. But Facebook ads, different ad spend as well. And of course, things like we're doing now, content creation if you're creating content, that is one of the easiest way, in our opinion, to generate leads.
I agree. It's a shortcut, honestly. If you're able to create content, if you have any sort of personal brand, that's like a superpower in business.
Yes, I mean, if you have things that you talk through, like I said, Jerry, we talk for hours. Now we're just flipping the camera on while talking for more hours, right? So if you have things that you want to talk about and you can talk about for a long time, turn the camera on next time you're having a conversation and use that as the content in order to generate leads. And I would say we can do, myself as an agency owner, we can do better on our side of maybe putting opt-ins in certain areas that we need opt-ins
like calls to action in the content.
More calls to action on the content and things like that. So which we're working on. And you don't have to have everything perfect right away, but if you can generate an extra 2-3 sales calls a month, I mean, a week would be nice, but a month off of content creation, I mean, that's a win in my opinion.
Yeah. Alex Hormozi, his content, he's able to generate thousands of interested applications that are qualified, that are interested, that have been following him for years just through his content. It's like a cheat code. Alex Hormozi tells this story a lot. He was talking to one of his buddies who just runs a podcast. He does the podcast 2-3 times a month, and he generates, thousands of applications, qualified applications from the podcast. And he's like, "That's your lead generation? You don't do any cold ads?" He's like, "No, I just turn on the camera, talk to a buddy of mine for on the business aspect, on things we're already interested in, and everybody comes to us, and they're hungry to buy because they've spent so much time, especially long form content. They've spent so much time listening to this guy's opinions. They see him as an expert. They agree with him. So when they're on a sales call coming from organic content, they're much easier to close than somebody who was just scrolling on Facebook and saw an ad and clicked on the ad. It's just a different level of awareness, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what are some of the lead generation strategies that you're implementing right now that you find that's useful to you?
I'm big on LinkedIn right now. I'm going after franchising clients, and franchisers, they live on LinkedIn primarily, honestly.
Right,
so
right.
In the past, when I was just starting out, I would go to the law offices in person. I'd bring donuts. I'd go to networking, rub shoulders, and I'd pitch everybody in the room about, "Oh, you run real estate? Oh my God, how are you generating leads? Oh, I'm doing this. Have you tried? Right now, YouTube,
see me
Facebook
now,
ads."
but I got a grin from ear to ear, door to door. Love it, Jerry.
Dude, it's the best. It's the best. And then when you're in person, there's so much more levers you can pull when you're having fun, when you're meeting somebody in person and making eye contact and making jokes and just being overall, generally you want to be likable. People do business with people they like. And so if you can generate leads in person, that's a hack. Now, if you're moving up market, let's say you sell to enterprise companies, chances are it's going to be harder to rub shoulders and go into the office with donuts to a C-suite executive kind of person, right? So for those instances, you want to do, like a sniper approach. You want to go to LinkedIn, you want to message them on Instagram, on Facebook, and generally you want to do your research when you're being a sniper and targeting people, because if I see for example, I did this for a deal I closed. I might have even brought it up in the past, but I was going after a business with 5 different people that were the decision makers. So what I did is I logged on Facebook, I logged on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and I learned everything I could about these 5 people. And on the sales call with all of them present, I was able to reference, "Congratulations on your daughter's wedding. hey, I just saw your son graduated college. Congratulations. So I was referencing all these and I was sprinkling them. I wasn't just, here's a paragraph of everything I know about you guys. No, I sprinkled it in as I was doing the sales call. So, it's these kinds of lead generation things, like doing your due diligence and research, that really goes the extra mile in the eyes of the prospect, and they're more likely to close if you are that kind of if you are doing your due diligence in that way. And again, as I mentioned, LinkedIn has been terrific for me. I'm generating maybe it's not a ton. I'm generating 3 sales calls per week from LinkedIn, but these are high level people, right? They're running big franchise businesses. So it's been good for me. And coupled with the hammer them strategy, which we can go into, where I answer all their objections before the call. That's been a game changer for me personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and going into a little bit more on that hammer them strategy for those of us that don't know, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. I learned this from Brian Moncada. He runs a 400K a month YouTube ad agency. And the hammer them strategy is really where it's in the name. You hammer them with emails and the frequency of email. You want to send 3 emails, or you want to send 1 email every 3 hours. And these emails contain every objection that the prospect might have. So each email tackles an objection. So for example, people are asking, how much does this cost? How long does it take to see results? What do I need in place in order to be successful with this? Like you take payment plans, like it could be anything, right? So the hammer them strategy is how you do it is, you write out all the objections that you always hear on the calls, so the questions that your prospects are going to have, write them all out, and then write 1 email answering, tackling that objection. And so you might think 1 email every 3 hours is excessive. And trust me, I believe the same thing. But honestly, not everybody is going to open all the emails, first of all. And they appreciate having the answers up front, being honest about the price, being honest about who it's for, who it's not for. So that the people that when they show up to the call, not only does it increase show rate, but when they do show to the call, they already know exactly they're interested. They know exactly how much it costs. They know how long it takes. They know all the little details. And so, it's been a game changer for me and my clients to be able to just send out tons of emails, because not all of them are going to get opened, but the ones that do get opened, it's a tool for the sales guy to use and say, for him to say that, oh, well, Jerry, he opened these 5 emails. These are the 5 objections that I got to cover, because these are the ones he's most interested in. And by the fact that he showed up, he knows the price. He's most likely interested. And so now it's a matter of just navigating the sales call effectively. Does that make sense? And what do you think about the hammer them strategy? Am I crazy? Have you tried something like that?
Sense. No, I think it's really powerful. I mean, it's so good that if you're not new, like brand new into the sales industry, and you have a sales process, chances are you do have an objection rebuttal. You should, if you don't have one, with a common objection, common rebuttals, and your responses that you will give. In insurance, I know that is standard for all insurance.
You have that for your team, I'm sure too, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Every one of them get a rebuttal sheet, objection sheet, and get tested on it and all of that stuff. And I remember certain jobs that I had in sales and call center type jobs where we would have objection rebuttal sheets and things like that. And when I became an entrepreneur, I was like, oh man, now I understand the importance of having that. When I was just a drone going to work, I was like, I got to learn this rebuttal sheet. I don't want to, right? And I'm just reading it verbatim now. I have owned it and learned it because, of course, it's that important to know some of the common things that will come up in your sales presentation and to be prepared for that. So just turning that sheet that you have and you plug it into AI, if you will, and create a couple of emails from the AI. Already know your responses. So now it's just got to put more words to it and give it a little fluff. and put it in an email. Oh man, that's real good. That should be something that everybody's doing here. And every 3 hours, awesome. Now,
I
most
agree.
times,
One step,
time consuming.
one
I
step
would
further.
assume would be setting up the CRM to do so. That's probably the most time consuming part of it.
Yeah, if you wanted to go even deeper, you could record a video going over that objection. So in the video, it's like, hi, thank you for watching this video. I'm Jerry. In this video, we're going to be going over the cost of starting YouTube ads. And then you break it down on the video. And it doesn't have to be a long video, but
so good.
if you send an email
30
with
seconds, what would you think?
30 seconds,
a minute?
Exactly. You don't have to go over it deeply. Now, this also isn't to say that you shouldn't drill your objections with your sales team. That's obviously important still too, because even if they're already pre-framed on the price, and by the time they jump on the sales call, they might still have that objection. So it's still important to train your team on this is how you overcome. We're gonna drill the price objection. We're gonna drill the spouse objection. So and it's important to practice doing it for the sales call, but just the fact that you've recorded a video prior is going to increase your conversion rate. It's gonna increase the likelihood you're going to close the deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely, definitely agreed. I mean, yeah, and drilling the objections is important, because what if they see your email? Let's say you book a client, they come in, okay, yep, me and my wife's going to be there. They see the email, the wife never saw the email. Right. So now the wife has the objection, but you've already clarified an objection to one spouse, but doesn't mean the other one has been clarified. So
true.
Yes, and then drill that objection and when they come into the sales call, now it's easy to step on that ladder, if you will, or that step. Use that step. Oh, did you get a chance to see the emails I sent you? Yes. And so when the wife brings up, oh well, your husband probably already kind of went over the email there, so he knows what I'm about to say, but and you go into it. So now you have basically another credible source or validation.
Your husband already saw this. And you're bringing her into you and the husband's, little in there.
Yeah, that's gold to set up something, especially the video. It's very personable and everything. So that's amazing. Definitely something we all should be implementing, no matter what product or service you're selling.
If you're a little intimidated by recording the videos, and just like you said, Richard, as long as you list out your objections, plug them into AI, you have a general, you have these great emails that you can plug into your CRM. So it doesn't have to, take up too it doesn't take up a lot of time to be able to implement, just like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, going into the lead generation process. Now, I know we talked about knocking on doors and hitting those brick and mortar businesses and and bringing coffee and donuts to
that works great.
Right, prospects. Of course, those are high quality, because we are getting to pick and choose, but we can't be everywhere at once, and we can't, walking to 1,000 businesses is a lot harder than getting 1,000 businesses online, of course. So when it comes to online generation, how do you differentiate between or balance that quality versus quantity in the lead generation process?
Quantity versus quality. Well, it's just like you mentioned before we started. There was one guy with a low conversion rate, but he was doing double the volume of everybody else, and he was number one on the sales team. So, no matter what you do, it's going to get multiplied by the amount of volume that you're doing. So, and in terms of the quality, like if you're doing it online, the most important thing is to call out the pain. As Myron Golden always says, people are most motivated by moving away from pain. So if you're calling out a pain, such as, are you tired of XYZ pain point? Are you tired of racking up weights in your gym? Okay, this is a personal trainer hook. But by calling out the pain, then you're going for quality, because who's going to listen to a hook like that? It's going to be the person that's racking up weights, that is a personal trainer, it's their job to train people, not to do gym maintenance, right? So by doing volume, it's going to increase the efforts that you're currently doing. But by doing quality, you want to be very specific in terms of pain that you're calling out. So showing why traditional solutions aren't working, that's number two, and introducing a mechanism. So hi, I'm Jerry. I help realtors generate new leads with Facebook ads. So that's the mechanism, right? If you're in a crowded market, you can differentiate by using the mechanism. So, just to tie a bow on it, volume is going to be most important, because if you're only doing 1 to 2 outbound messages per day, but they're quality messages, you're not going to do as good as the guy that's doing 100 outbound messages, right? So volume is so important. And volume negates luck because you get really, really good at it. But in terms of quality, it's about knowing the pain points of who you're going after.
Yes, No, that actually reminds me of Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe
the GOAT.
said that for him when he first started, it was terrible. At 13, if you watch the documentary, at 13, he didn't make the team that he wanted to make, which wasn't even a school team. This was a private league team, which those tend to be a little bit easier to make than school teams, right? So because they're getting paid and they just want to get paid.
It's hard to imagine Kobe not making it on a basketball team.
Right. So he said that, then he started working twice as hard as everybody else. So you can outperform the person that's good at closing by doing more sales calls than the person that's good at closing. Right. And this goes to you personally too. If you are bad at closing, then you should be doing higher quantity. Right. Once we start to get and we dial in our close process and we notice our close ratio is really high, maybe we can chase higher quality leads so we're not wasting time, and maybe we can close higher deals, right? Larger deals and things like that. That's where quality kind of gets dialed in after that point. But that's after we've gone through so many master classes, so many training, have gone and became, a great salesman. Then you can, you see all the great salesmen, then they start to go out here and do 50, 60, $200,000 down speaking engagements. They didn't start out doing that, and they might do one per quarter. You look at funnel hacking Russell Bronson.
Mm-hmm.
How many engagements he does? Yes, he started doing webinars.
Almost none.
One webinar a week, because his closing was garbage, to say the least. Everybody starts out garbage, right? So you started out bad. He's doing webinars, and he talks about it. So he learned how to become better and better, and before you know it, now you're not really doing as many webinars, if any, and he's doing once per quarter, a big speaking engagement, once a year, funnel hacking live or something like that. So he's on the scheme of things, his input activity is not as busy physically, other than getting his team to do the ads and do everything else that's going to generate those leads and get to show up at those events.
And back in the beginning, Russell, he was doing one per day, one perfect webinar per day. Yes, per day. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
So for people that do a webinar once a month, it's like, come on, you got to pump those numbers up if you really want to get good.
Yeah, those are rookie numbers, bro.
Pump those numbers. On Wall Street stuff. But if you look at the greatest orators on earth, so public speakers, there's stories of them doing 3 speeches per day, and then gaining a huge audience, and then creating a political movement. And it was 3 speeches per day. Can you imagine that? 3 speeches per day. Like Russell Brunson, one perfect webinar per day. These are 2-hour webinars. They're highly energetic. They take a lot out of you, and there's a lot that can go wrong on one of these live events. But that volume negates luck. You end up so good that you can do a webinar now every quarter and crush it. Every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of taking a lot out of you, how do you keep the lead generation process and everything consistent when you're busy, when you start to see more success?
Well, I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on this. But in terms of consistency, like it's actually quite easy to follow instructions, but it's difficult to keep doing the same thing over and over again for many, many months. That's what separates, I guess, the winners and the losers, right? But for me, I have some automations on LinkedIn, so that way I'm not manually, doing the outbound, but still having to do the follow up. So, for me, it's really just a checklist. Like, okay, in the morning, check my inbox. Okay, respond to the people that accepted my connection requests. Follow up with the people that, left me on red or that responded or that didn't book a call after I sent the link. So for me, just being consistent is having a checklist. How about you? How do you handle your sales follow up, and how do you stay consistent?
Well, I mean, one of the great quotes, I'll quote, I can't attribute this to anyone, but consistency, the only change is the only constant, right? So consistency is always changing. So for us, I mean, growing, making sure your lead generation process grows with you as you grow. Right? If you're doing, as I mentioned earlier before the call, that for an insurance agency to really be successful, an insurance agent, not even an agency, but an agent has to be doing, 30, honestly, to 40 booked appointments on schedule per week. Right? When we talk, especially when we're first coming out, because our close ratio is probably hot garbage, right? We're out of that 30 calls, I mean, half of them are showing up or a little bit less than that, and you're closing 20%, 10% maybe. So out of 30, you might have 3 deals for the week. And so with that, 10%. Now, yeah, 10%. So when you now go into getting better and better and get more busy and busy and maybe closing more deals and more of your prospects showing up, let's say you've dialed in you've implemented the hammer them strategy and your show ratio has increased and you're too busy to do the same task of hitting door to door or whatever. Now translate into putting it to ads, your quality might drop, but guess what? Your close ratio has increased. So the higher quality, the lower quality might be okay, right? Because you become a better salesperson. You can probably work those things a little bit better.
You can do more with less.
Yes. So I would say, the biggest thing is just making sure your lead generation process grows with you. Maybe do a webinar a month, or whatever.
Webinar a day for Russell Brunson.
Webinar a day, right? So take a page out of Russell's book. First he started out doing a webinar a day, got busy, then started doing a webinar a week, got even busier. And especially if you're making content, if your content is what's generating your sales, then make more content. Yeah. Right. And hire people when it starts to hurt.
That's the Russell method. As soon as Russell Brunson, nailed the webinar and he moved to a higher leverage model. So instead of doing one webinar per day, he started, he hired a marketing team to market the webinar. So that way, when he does do the webinar once a week, he has more people on that webinar than if so he reaches more people by doing one webinar a week and just having his team market it, and you end up giving the webinar to more people see it, compared to if you were just hammering doing one per day with just a handful of viewers. So higher leverage is absolutely going to increase your sales. That's exactly what Russell did by just getting more people running ads, more people to see the webinar.
Yes, no, absolutely. I believe so. And we're in the age of AI and everything and automation, guys. So, I mean, automate what you can.
Yeah. Right? There's no excuse nowadays.
Yeah, automate whatever you can and take the work off of yourself between automation and hiring staff. I know in our industry, in the insurance industry, recruiting is the name of the game. Now, most insurance agency owners will focus on recruiting sales sales oriented sales guys, right? They're more agents.
So to increase the volume, more throughput.
Yeah, more to increase how many deals are being closed, which is great and all, but the stress hasn't actually decreased. The effort, the work hasn't actually decreased. If anything, it's gotten more, and it's so toxic that they preach, that this is the sign of being macho and being successful, and which is not the case. You can hire outside of sales. There's so many other roles. I talked to this guy was in a different field, but he said, listen, there's 3 salespeople on the team. There's a team of 20, and the 3 of us are actually the salespeople. Mm-hmm. Everyone else helps us sell by generating, and, really he focused on delivery. He said the delivery of the product is where it is really focused, because you want your reputation, of course, to mean something, your brand to build, of course, because everybody now is talking about, they were amazing, this and that, and the third. You want to be memorable. And of course, the lead generation process. So yes, if you're an insurance agency owner, you can recruit sales guys, but at some point, between all the administrative tasks that must be done in the agency, you don't want to task your sales guys with doing those administrative tasks. Because what's the point of being affiliated with your agency when they're being paid commission anyways, right? So they got to do everything themselves. They can just go do everything themselves, right? And not need you. So having a staff to help out, and it releases stress from everyone and puts you and the rest of the sales team to do what we're so great at, right? We're the first line of sales, right? Teach the sales team how to sell. So continue to do that. Be in meetings and close those deals and everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't want the sales guy doing, they should focus on what they're best at, right? Like the quarterback's not out here doing the field goal kicks or being the linebacker. His expertise is, controlling, throwing the ball, handing off the ball, right? It's managing the line and getting the ball down the field. It's not doing every single position on the team. That would be terrible. We wouldn't have some of the greats without them doing what they're best at. Because in the sales guys position, it's closing.
Yes, closing, absolutely. And then hire people that you can trust in the other departments. It also is exhausting for a quarterback to tell everybody how to play their position.
Yeah, this is how you kick the ball. This is how you tackle a guy.
No one wants to do that, right?
How you sit on a bench.
That is a huge pet peeve of mine, and I don't know if my leadership suffers because of it. I know my wife doesn't really like it too much at times, but I'm not telling you what. Right. There's sometimes that I will. This is my process. That's one thing. I'll tell you the process. This is the result that I want. This is the process I use. You don't have to use my process, but if you're not getting the results that I want you to get, you need to use my process and then start to tweak it and make it your own. Once you start to get the results, and then you can experiment and say, okay, well, I don't want to do it exactly this way because it's too time consuming for me. I want to do it this way. Right. What are your thoughts on hiring a team like that and giving them freedom to do what they want?
No, I totally agree. I'm in 100% agreement. An example I can give is at my kiosk business. This was pre-COVID, before I got shut down. I would give the sales script to the sales guy, and I would say, okay, I want you to memorize this script word by word, and I want you to use it word by word. And once you get comfortable with it, that once you start getting the same results as me, and you feel like there's an area of the sales script that can be improved, feel free to go ahead and change it, but only change it once you feel that you can make it better. Once you've memorized it and you know it by heart, and you can get the same results as me, and you feel that you want to do better than me, and you feel like the only way to do that is by, adding this to the script, or reorganizing this, or changing the examples. So I'd give my salespeople free reign as long as they were closing either the same amount as me or more than me. But before that, I would tell them, this is your Bible. I want you to memorize it word for word. And a lot of people, once they got good, then they would change the script, they change the words, they'd update it slightly to cater to their personality at the kiosk. And so that's what I tell the team, you know. But you know, in the high ticket space, we are. It's still at the end of the day, like our goal is to close the sale. If that means that, you know, the sale kind of goes through, you know, like a squiggly line, it's not like a straightforward path. Like, okay, answer these 14 questions, then ask for the sale, then collect the money. It's usually never like that. Sometimes they might throw a curveball that you have to address, you know. So it's never going to be a straight line. But that's all.
That's where experience comes in, right? That's where
navigate
you've done this so many times that now you know how to handle those curveballs. And I mean, not being rigid to your script or rigid to them following the process to when starting out and proving themselves.
Reorient on the line.
Yeah, it's almost like raising your child and telling them as soon as they come out of the womb, you can do whatever you want. You're gonna have a that child is not going to be successful. If they are successful, it's gonna be a lot harder for them than if you were to just give them a blueprint to follow and say, these are my rules to my house, these are the things I expect, these are the things, and do that until you know I know you can do better than that, right? When I know you can surpass me because I can see your potential.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well said.
Awesome, Jerry. Well, man, hey, it's been a pleasure as always. Good to have you on the show. You know, awesome lead generation information that we got here, guys. Implement some of these things in your strategies. Hammer them.
Yes, implement the hammer them strategy. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. The questions, comments, concerns, anything, leave them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you can be here for the next one. We would love to hear any topics that you guys want us to touch base on. You know, sales is the heart of every business. So anything sales related, guys, you can ask, and we're definitely here to provide any insight that we have, and we'd love to hear your guys' insight as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Richard. You're the best. Appreciate everybody. Leave a comment down below. We're happy to answer any questions.
Awesome, guys. Well, until next time, we'll catch you next week on The Foundation. Peace.